city, I've been browsing. Treading water that they drowning. My head on a swivel, yeah. It's only really my surroundings.
Hello and welcome to episode 251 of the Smash Accept podcast. I'm your host, Michael Royer. You can find me on Twitter at DynastyDadFF. Man, we have our first set of preseason games. These rookies are starting to take form, right? Like early on in the process, all we had was college tape. And then we get to there, and then we get NFL draft capital. Then we start to see some camp. And now we're into the preseason. Now we're starting to see some of these guys flash. Now some of those takes that we had, they're really validating. And I'm excited just to, I got the C4 out today. I'm excited to see what we can talk about as far as these rookies. Nobody better to chop that up with than my main man, Snoog. How you doing today, brother?
Doing good, Dad. I'm excited, man. I mean, first week of preseason, that gets the blood pumping again. That gets us back into the rhythm. So I'm excited. A lot of good things happening, especially in this rookie class that we knew was going to be special. We saw some of these guys, especially the quarterbacks, come out and really show that they can be starters in this league and they can make some noise. So I'm excited to kind of see how it pans out through the next few weeks. And I'm just curious to see, because I haven't really dived too deep into what like the rookie landscape's looking like the past few days after preseason. So I'm excited to really look through that.
Exactly. That's really what I wanted to chop up. We're out here, early in the morning. Jack No 7 Danis says, "Yo, what's up from YouTube, guys? If you guys aren't following us on YouTube, we are putting out extra content, 2 or 3 videos a week. We're about to ramp that up to even more. So make sure you guys hit that smash subscribe button. And as we're going, we always answer questions. So if you guys are on Twitter, you guys are on YouTube, send your questions in as we're going. No better place to get those questions answered, though, than in the Patreon. Make sure you guys check that out. Patreon.com/Smash Accept. Now let's talk these rookies. We've talked enough about the Patreon. We've talked enough about those things. I am excited. We thought this class was going to be special. Then people started writing them off. But, starting at the top, I mean, we have something awesome here right now. We have Caleb Williams goes out there, and we see what we have in Caleb Williams. You get to see the tape. You get to see what happens, and he flashed big time, Snoop. I mean, you saw what he was able to do. He went out there, and you saw him making throws on the run. The type of throws where, he had that no-look shovel pass to DeAndre Swift that was very Patrick Mahomes-esque. He had that run to the right where he just threw an absolute laser to Keenan Allen. You saw him scramble. He had a nice 30-yard run there, and I think we got to look at the difference between is this camp hype? Is this the guy that rookie, or is this guy for real? This is, to me, Snook, this is someone that's like, dude, when I get to the QB7, the 107, 108 in my startup draft, I'm smashing Caleb Williams right now because everything I see, all the weapons, this is just another step in the process to validate how special this guy's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we saw him do exactly what he did out there, like he did at USC. We knew he was a magician with the football in his hands, extending plays, avoiding sacks, feeling the pressure, just making plays downfield. He showed a glimpse of a little bit of everything. We saw him show off that bazooka arm he has, fitting the ball through tight windows to DJ Moore twice, one on the run, rolling out to his right. We saw him take the ball and run for 15-plus yards first down. He's not going to be a 60, 70 rusher per game. He'll be a 20 to 30, though. He is going to provide a season where he gives you 400 to 500 yards on the ground and maybe 6 touchdowns. He's going to give you value with his legs, and he has 4,000 upside with 40 touchdowns. He is an absolute playmaker. Definitely going to be a first top 10, top 8 pick in Superflex. Yeah. I'm actually at the pick 9 right now, hoping he falls to me in a Superflex draft right now. So he's just an absolute monster, man. And we saw the weapons around him: Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, DeAndre Swift looked great out there. He's got everything.
Yeah, and it's that rushing floor that, a lot of people don't pay attention to. When you look at his college tape, he can run, and he didn't do it as much last year, but the year before that, he really showed those legs. You saw it in the preseason. Snoog, I mean, we've seen it before. We want to have that threshold of 400 yards, as a floor for a guy for the rushing. And just to give you that nice extra couple of points a week, he does that. It's very similar to what Patrick Mahomes does. Maybe even, Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert earlier in their career. What I want to look at right now is I want to look at some trades here. I want to look at, I went up to Dynasty Data Lab, and I want to see what we're looking at. Like how close are these Williams trades? What should we be looking for in return? So, I mean, the first one, Caleb Williams or Justin Herbert, a 25 second and a 26 third. I'm taking Caleb Williams here. Yeah. Same. I mean, like, I think there's at least a first gap now between these two in standard superflex. I think that's kind of what we're looking at. And then that's adequately priced to me. Looking at some of these other ones, JJ McCarthy, Drake May, and Ben Sinnott for Caleb Williams and Rico Dowdle. I'm going to take Caleb there too. And I think this is like looking at seeing what May and McCarthy did and tearing up. If you can get yourself in an area where you look at a rebuilding team that has no quarterbacks other than Caleb, then I'm going to go out there every time and I'm just going to say, you know what? I got these two guys, right? And we know that quarterbacks historically hit at about a 50% rate. I would say I am confident to say it's like 95% for Caleb Williams.
To at least be something too, right? Like it's not even that he's going to be Mahomes. Like it's a 95% chance he probably gets a second contract.
Let's look at a couple more here that I think look.
There's a few that I think you could go out there and be like, yeah, I'm selling Caleb Williams. Like this Kyler one, this Mahomes one, this Jalen Hurts one.
Well, but then there's
Garrett
other ones
Wilson
like
one.
This Devontae Adams, Deshaun Watson, Jerome Ford, Brendan Rice, and 25 first. That just seems like it's a collection of guys to try to throw it out there. Now, on the flip side, so you got to play this out, right? And we're going to do a trade tips podcast and just tell you guys how we go about doing things. But I really like to go out it and try to approach, if I'm trying to trade for Caleb Williams, with an open-ended format, right? Like just saying, open-ended question, hey, so, I'm interested in Caleb Williams. Is he, available? And let them come to you. Because a lot of times you see those trades, those are perfectly fine. Then you see some other ones and you're like, whoa, okay, all right. Garrett Wilson, Drake May, a 25 first and a 26 second. Yeah, give me Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Caleb Williams, Brian Thomas for CJ Stroud. That one's going to get real close when you get down time to the season. But then you got, Caleb Williams for Patrick Mahomes. Caleb Williams for Kyler Murray in a first. These are all trades that were made in the last 3 days. You got Caleb Williams and Kyron Williams for Jalen, ETN, and those are the kind of moves where, like I'm saying, what you want to do is you just start touching base. You start saying, hey, what are you guys willing to do for Caleb Williams? If you have Caleb Williams, the same thing. You're just trying to picture, what are you guys willing to pay? And right now, I have him as my QB8, and I'm really trying to tear off of Lamar and Burrow down to Caleb, whatever that plus is. I'm trying to tear up off of, the next guy we're going to talk about, who's a little bit more risky, and Jaden Daniels. I'm trying to tear up off of Justin Herbert. But Caleb Williams, I think this is the last opportunity that you're going to get before that value moves up even more. Because Snoop, this is a potential of a guy being a top 5 quarterback next year.
Yeah.
Like if you told me he had a better rookie year than CJ Stroud did his rookie year, I wouldn't be shocked. Even though CJ Stroud was phenomenal, the weapons here are much better. The talent level is at least on par, if not better. Like the rushing floor is going to be better. I think from a fantasy points per game perspective, I think he passes CJ Stroud.
Yeah, that's a very good chance he does. Because like if you look at what Stroud did, it was so special. But from like a fantasy perspective, it could have been way better because he didn't have Tank Dell for a while. Schultz missed a couple games. They couldn't run the ball for shit. They didn't have offensive linemen there that were healthy. It was just really special for what he was doing because Stroud had the hot hand. But like if you really like think about what Stroud could have done fully healthy, or what he could have done if he had these weapons that Caleb has, he could have put up 5,000 yards and 35 touchdowns as a rookie. So Caleb definitely has a high ceiling this year. I think it's like he's gonna hit 4,000 yards in my opinion. I think he's gonna have a really good year. Unless all goes to shit and like injuries happen, offensive line's terrible, they can't run the ball, like things happen. But I mean, Caleb is a guy that we could look at the landscape next year going into after this year going into the next year's draft this time, and we could see the big 5 looking like Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, Stroud, and Caleb Williams. I think there's a chance that Caleb Williams could pass like a Lamar, could pass a Burrow, just with the big rookie year. So
Will, will pass Burrow, I think.
Yeah.
Because Burrow's going to be 28, you know, unless Burrow throws 50 touchdown passes.
Burrow's
that's
going to be
kind of where we're
28
at.
with like every injury under the sun.
Ooh, love that. We got a YouTube follow here from Denmark. Yeah, that's awesome.
Is Joe Burrow just expensive Dak Prescott, and like no one realizes that yet?
I only own 2 shares, and I bought them when he was injured, and I'm trying to flip now just to kind of see where we're at. The next guy I want to talk about, so Jaden Daniels. Okay, Jaden Daniels is a much riskier version for Dynasty than Caleb Williams. For redraft, I'm loving Jaden Daniels. You see what he's able to do. He's obviously going to have that rushing floor. We talked about Caleb being at maybe 400. I mean, I think Jaden Daniels at 700 it's going to be somewhere between 700 and 1,000 yards as long as he stays upright. You know, I know we saw what we're looking at for in the red zone. Read option with Austin Eckler is going to be nearly impossible to stop. Eckler has been phenomenal in the red zone over his career. You know, right now top 5 in touchdowns over the last 5 years. You saw the play action. Everybody bit on Eckler. He just walked right into the end zone. I think you're going to get a lot of opportunities here where Jaden Daniels is someone that I think, you know, especially if you're in a win now team, I would really love to tear up off of May, off of McCarthy, off of, you know, some of these other guys and try to get myself there. I'm just worried about the long-term effects. Not like long-term with Justin Fields, because I think this is a phenomenal passer. I think this is someone that has the complete skill set, other than he's a big injury risk. He really is. Like I am worried that he's going to get popped and be closer to that RG3 than, you understand what I'm saying? Like he's not going to get benched. He's not going to be what a lot of people want to compare him to Justin Fields. Let's be honest. He throws a beautiful deep ball. He has fantastic touch. This guy's speed and ability to run is closer to Lamar Jackson, but there is that risk there. I'm really worried about it.
His issue is he's like how Lamar was coming out. He within 20 yards or like within 15 yards is like no man's land for him throwing the football. But it's like anything beyond that, it's like the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen when he just releases the ball deep. Like
well, we saw him
skyrocket the ball over Eckler's head and another receiver's head, and then the next play throw a 42-yard dot with pressure in his face. So it's like his offense is going to rely on running for him, and it's going to rely on throwing deep passes, but he's going to need to get in the end zone somehow, some way, whether it's throwing or rushing. If he's not scoring touchdowns, I don't give a shit if you rush for 1,000 yards. You're still going to finish outside the top 10.
Now, I'm glad you said that, because we've been talking about that with Anthony Richardson. So if you rush for 700 yards, you know, if you look at what you have, if you rush for 700 yards and a base of about 5 touchdowns, which is pretty much the floor, then he needs to average 200 yards and 1.25 touchdowns per game to be inside the top 12. That's going to happen. You know, like that's going to happen. I think he could throw for 25 to 30 plus touchdowns. I think it's not a situation where we're looking like Anthony Richardson where he's going to run exclusively. I think Jaden Daniels can pass.
He has a better situation than all the rookie quarterbacks had last year. If you like really look at it, like none of them had like a Terry that was already established. Like they didn't have the backs that he has. Like Nico Collins and Tank Dell are nasty now, but before that, Nico Collins was barely putting up 500 yards. Terry was putting up 1,000 yards with any bad quarterback you can think of.
Let's take a look at some trades here on Dynasty Data Lab again. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Derek Carr, and a 25 first, smash Jaden Daniels. You're like, this is a guy right now who's going at that fringe 2-3 turn. Snoop guy, I think if we see the ceiling, he's going to be going in round 1 easily next year. You know, like we saw, Justin Fields was horrible his second year, but he put up the fantasy points where he was top 7, and he went all the way to 110 to 112 range in startup drafts. Looking at other trades here, Brock Purdy, Cooper Kupp, and the 25 112 for Jaden Daniels and Devontae. Smash. You know, like we're looking at some of these trades, and I'm all in on this. On the flip side, and there's money to be had, and that's why we're talking about it. You know, another one, Tank Dell, the 20 and 226 first for Jaden Daniels, Khalil Shakir. I'm in on that. On the opposite side, we were just talking about Joe Burrow. Like, this is a huge opportunity if you believe in Jaden Daniels.
Insulated
this
trade
one's here.
right there.
Joe Burrow, Rashee Rice, and Gus Edwards for Garrett Wilson and Jaden Daniels. I am all over that. If I can tear down, because let's be honest, the difference in fantasy points between Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels this year, if Jaden Daniels plays all 16, 17 games, I think is 2 to 3 points per game, if any. So like I think he's going to finish in that range. These trades are really ones that, I mean, see another one here, especially in 4-point passing. T. Higgins, a 25 first and a 27 first for Jaden Daniels. In 4-point passing, Jaden Daniels will be top 10. Lock it in. And I think if you can go ahead and you can make those moves to get him. Another one, Jaden Daniels in his 6-point passing touchdown. Jaden Daniels for Xavier Worthy in a 25 first. And I think that's about right. You know what I mean? I think those are the areas where I'm willing to pay up for that. I want to go out there and I want to get that elite level ceiling. And I would cash out when it's completely done. The trades I wouldn't make are like these ones here, where it's Jaden Daniels, a 25 first and a 26 first for Mahomes and Kelsey. Oh, that makes no sense. You know what I mean? Or, these ones that just you're giving up a boatload on the other end. You're giving up guys that are, I see Kirk Cousins in 2 firsts for Jaden Daniels. That just feels like one where you could potentially lose out. Jalen Hurts and Rashee Rice for Jaden Daniels and Puka Nacua. I can get behind that one because you're upgrading it at that wide receiver position. But talk to me a little bit about where you would be at as far as making trades.
Yeah, he's always been such a tough eval for me because I was on the Justin Fields wave until he was valued how he was. And then I wanted nothing to do with him. As soon as he was valued in that first round startup range, my shares went to zero. Like I sold every share.
Yes.
I think that's Dad is the biggest Jaden Daniels guy I know, and I can promise you his sharp
I'm gonna sell all my
skills,
shares.
As soon as he becomes a first round startup pick, if he does, I don't think he's gonna be, but if he does, I think Dad will sell every single share. And it's not because he doesn't like Jaden Daniels. It's just
you're gonna get
the
Kyler
market.
plus. You're gonna get Kyler plus. You're gonna get, you're gonna get Justin Herbert plus. The idea is, and I treat this so much differently than most fantasy analysts out there, is I see the talent, I see what he's gonna do. When it happens, you sell him, right? Yep. Caleb Williams is a long-term asset. Jaden Daniels, I gotta see it, right? So like if I invest in him at the 104, I'm gonna draft him. I'm gonna see what happens. 6 games into the season, I could easily see him as a top 5 quarterback. And then it's like, okay, done. Let's get him out of here. Let's tier up a little bit and let's get one of those elite level quarterbacks and let's tier down to Kyler Murray. Like It's all about playing the value game. It's all about looking at the profile and flipping it from there.
What I want to see from Jaden Daniels, the thing that I want to see from him that I always thought he struggled with in college, and I mean, I'm not a QB guru. Like I just kind of look at it and see what I see and just kind of talk about it. But I think with Jaden Daniels, I would love to see what he can do when the play breaks down that he can run the ball. But I want to see he's not going to be able to throw like 45, 50 touchdown passes and everything be a 30-plus yard go ball. Like he doesn't have Jamar Chase. He doesn't have those elite weapons that can just infinitely get open downfield. So when that deep ball and that 9 route's taken away from him, I want to see what he can do. I want to see him break the play down. I want to see him strike across the middle of the field. I want to see him hit his second read, his third read, go through his progressions because he never really had to do that in college. Because it was either BT or neighbors down the field or take off and run the ball. So I think he's going to have a little bit of a learning curve there. But, I mean, that's not like a bad thing because if you look at what Justin Fields did, it's, oh, no one's open, let's run. Oh, no one's open there, let's run. And that's probably what he's going to do.
Yeah, we got to just stop the Justin Fields comparison. That's just not where it is. And if we get anything across to you guys, that's really what we're saying is it's a matter of flipping and it's a matter of, looking at that. Another quarterback who really flashed, really, really flashed, and was J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy he threw the interception early. I saw everybody on Twitter just start bad-mouthing him. Then you see he throws that 37-yard dot, and then he just showed the poise in the quarterback room. He showed that he's able to sit back there and just, pick the defense apart. He has that rushing upside, and this is someone who I think people are way too low on. I've seen him fall, originally people were taking him 106, 107, 108. I have seen rookie drafts now, Snook, that are going off in August where he's going 110, 111, 112. And I'm just like, you can't take the wide receivers above him. You know, after you get to Bowers and Rome, that's it. It's got to be J.J.
Yeah.
McCarthy or Drake
He's got
May.
the second
And-
best situation easily. Like the
Yeah.
Vikings situation. Like
Well,
I wish
if
Drake May
Hawkinson was
a
healthy,
Viking.
Hawkinson was healthy and Addison doesn't get suspended, you could argue that is clearly the best, in my opinion, is that Minnesota talent room. And the trades right now, I think, are very, very affordable. I think they're like right where they need to be. And I think you're getting really good value. I mean, I see here J.J. McCarthy and a 25 fourth for Bo Nix and a 25 second, which Nix looked pretty solid as well. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Christian Watson in a second for McCarthy and Ford. I'm okay with that. You know, TJ Hawkinson for McCarthy and Pollard, that's a smash for me.
Yep.
You know, I'm looking at Bryce Young and JJ McCarthy even up in 4-point passing. I tried to make this trade the other day and I got rejected. They said that they want McCarthy over Bryce Young. And I think they've been listening to the podcast enough where, you know, we're saying this is a make or break year for Bryce Young, but I think that's good value. I mean, Baker Mayfield and Chris Godwin for JJ McCarthy in a late first. Smash that. You know, like these are trades where I think JJ McCarthy is just way too cheap. I mean, these you're able to get a nice cash out. You're going to get solid return. And I think even if he doesn't start day one, I think you're going to get something that here's Bryce Young and Marshawn Lloyd for McCarthy in a third, McCarthy and a second for James Conner. That has to be a typo. You know, but you look at even McCarthy, Zach Moss, and a second for Jonathan Taylor. I am okay going ahead and buying J.J. McCarthy right now. Like, if you need a QB3, right, there is nothing in the 2024 or 2025 class that is going to compare to the level of opportunity that J.J. McCarthy has.
Yeah, exactly. I think JJ, I remember early on in the process, I said, like, JJ McCarthy to me is like, his best case scenario is Brock Purdy or like a Kirk Cousins, and I stand on that.
Like Brock. He looked
like
Brock
guys.
Purdy. So I mean, and
he's not like a game changer, but he's like he could get to that like high end game manager to help your team win. But he's not a guy like he's not a game changer. Like he's not Josh Allen, he's not C.J. Stroud, but he is.
Yeah,
he's in that Kirk Cousins, Brock Purdy, like Jared Goff type of player that he'll get that IQ. He's a smart player. He'll take the tough hits. He'll deliver in the pocket, scramble a little bit. I don't know. I mean, people think I don't really see high end traits with him. Like his arm talent's fine. Like he can throw the ball fast. Sure. I don't think he's a guy that is going to go out there and throw the ball 45 times a game like Justin Herbert and C.J. Stroud can. But I think he's a guy that can be an efficient passer like a Brock Purdy and just get the job done. And I think he's honestly a good fit for Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell there and with Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson. Good run game, pretty good O-line there. I think it's going to work out for him in the long run.
What % chance do you think he has to start at the beginning of the season?
I think there's a decent chance, but why rush it, right? I mean, I think see where he's at, see how he does the rest of the preseason, which they probably will. If he looks like he's head and shoulders better than Sam Darnold, start the guy. Get him confidence early on. Then you could build up that momentum going into the later half of the stretch. Especially if you have an easy schedule early on. That could be a good opportunity for him to get his feet wet.
Yeah, and he's you have to take him once you get to that 107, 108. There's no debate there because I think once he starts, you're going to flip him for more. I think he's someone that right now, I mean, what is the gap for you? If you have Jaden Daniels, right, and you're not a big believer in Jaden Daniels, what's the gap in value between J.J. McCarthy and Jaden Daniels for you?
I think it's a little bit closer, especially in 6-point passing, than people want to say it is. But I think Jaden Daniels just has such a higher ceiling, even in a worse situation, right? Like, I just think he's the type of guy that, like, even if they're both struggling going through the rookie, because these guys are going to struggle. They're rookies. They're going to throw picks. They're not, like, Caleb Williams level prospects. Like, I think if you just look at them all talent-wise, Drake May's head and shoulders better than Jaden Daniels and J.J. McCarthy when it comes down to the talent. The mixed rushing upside Drake May has, the mixed gunslinger, like throwing the ball downfield, just making plays, extending plays, breaking tackles, and throwing on the run. But that doesn't matter. Like, I don't care how good you are when you don't have the supporting cast like the other ones do. You don't have Terry
Correct.
McLaurin, or you don't have
If May
Justin
went to
Jefferson.
Minnesota,
He
we're
would have been a
talking
top
completely
12
different.
dynasty quarterback easily.
We're talking completely different. But let's talk about Drake May. I want to throw some trades out here real quick because I want to talk about some of these other guys. But Drake May and Marvin Harrison, or Trevor Lawrence and Chris Godwin. Are you kidding me? No,
Yeah.
that one can't be right. We're gonna skip over that one. Garrett Wilson and Drake May, or Caleb Williams.
Garrett Wilson, Drake May.
Lamar Jackson and Drake May, or Josh Allen.
Give me Josh, dude. He's so much better than Lamar. Like, he
Yeah,
scores like
Drake-
50 fantasy points more than him a year.
Drake May in a 25-second, or Brock Purdy.
Purdy.
Yeah, but that's a fun one, right? Because if we do Purdy in a second and May in a first, and you're rebuilding, I could see that being something that you really take a swing on. You know what I mean? This
Yeah.
one, Tua Tagovailoa and Sam Darnold, or Drake May and Michael Penix Jr.
Where do you stand on that one?
I'm taking Drake May.
I
I think
think so,
Michael
too.
Penix Jr. is going to start at some point. You know, I think when Cousins goes down, or this year or next, and he has a Tua
Light
floor
upside,
ceiling
I
that's
think,
like in that same area. You know what I mean? So I'm perfectly fine with that. How about this one here in a rebuild team? Drake May, Deontay Johnson in a second, or 3 random 25 first. I'm smashing him first.
Yeah, me too.
Drake May or Nico Collins in a second.
Nico Collins in a second.
Drake May in 2 firsts, or CJ Stroud.
CJ Stroud.
That's the tricky one.
That's
It's like,
close, though.
So I don't think, because I was looking at that in another one, there was JJ McCarthy in 2 firsts for Joe Burrow, and I'm like, these are not the type of trades that you make to tier up. Like, adding 2 firsts is very, very risky. You're getting yourself into a spot where it's like, if this doesn't hit, I'm gonna tank. And on the flip side is, I don't want to, if I have one of those top 4 quarterbacks, you know, with including Stroud, I don't want to tear down to Drake May and just get some future capital. It's like, I need to absolutely know. The other quarterback that performed really well, Bo Nix. You know, Bo Nix, Sean Payton's handpicked guy. He was the guy that was going 112, 201 in your Superflex rookie drafts. And he went out there and he had 4 drives that led to points. He looked pretty sharp. He got the ball out quick. I think out of all the quarterbacks, he'll probably have the highest completion percentage because he's just been a completion percentage machine, a guy that gets it out quick. Some people were trying to make that, just because it's Sean Payton, it has to be that like Drew Brees light, you know.
Yeah.
You say a Walmart version, I would almost say a homeless version of Drew Brees, but like he's going to be a guy that is going to get the ball out quickly, but like Drake May, there's no weapons here. I mean, it's Marvin Mims, Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Greg Dulcich. I mean, this is the worst talent room in the league. So, I mean,
It might be better than the Patriots.
It's going to be
if Javon Baker or Jalen Polk, if one of them somehow sucks, it's probably better than the Patriots. But like, yeah.
But you see what I'm saying is these two situations are going to create buying windows, and I think the buying window is going to be the entire year for Drake May and Bo Nix. And I think if you're really quarterback needy, if you're in a 12 to 14 team, I would take a shot on these two guys because I think they're both going to. They both have really good talent that I think long term will be fine, but it's just going to be a little bit tricky there.
Bo Nix ceiling comp for me is Derek Carr, same type of player, can throw the ball far downfield, makes stupid decisions still, turns up sometimes and looks really good, and then inaccurate. Like that's literally Bo Nix. Like just a disaster out there, but like has those fun games where you're like, yeah, okay. And his floor is probably like a Gardner Minshew, like just like a below average starting quarterback. Like that's what he is. I don't think he'll ever get to like be a top 12 dynasty QB, especially there in Denver. I wasn't a huge fan of him, but I liked him over Penix coming out. I thought he was just like I like that he could run a little bit. I thought he was tough, like he'd just deliver in the pocket and get bodied. Had put together a good year there at Oregon, so I mean he's a solid player.
Carr's comp is pretty good there, and people forget. I mean, he's been in that QB 14 to 18 range most of his career. He serves a purpose. Nobody really wants him for dynasty at this age because of his age, because there's no more upside. for growth there at that point. The running backs, some of these guys flash, man. Jalen Wright just showed the vision, the explosiveness. His vision at the goal line was phenomenal. That play he had on the screen where he bobbled and turned around was like low key. It was Devon Achane to Barry Sanders.
We saw some of that at Tennessee where he would just
Yeah.
make those kind of crazy plays showing off his athleticism.
And he looked really good. And I think this is someone where, unfortunately, Marshawn Lloyd went down to injury. So where, he was one of those guys I think was going to be someone that's a league winner year one.
Unfortunately, he has that Kendre Miller bug though. If you look at his college career, dude, Marshawn Lloyd is just a walking injury.
Jalen Wright though, these open field moves, this clear vision. This is someone that Snoop. If Raheem Mostert goes down or Devon Achane, I think Jalen Wright has top 15 potential year one, and I think even more so if it's Mostert. Right? If it's Mostert, I think he could be the goal line guy. I think he could have double-digit touchdowns. I think it's a good buy low window here where I think when we get to 2025, Jalen Wright is the starter. Devon Achane, who's never going to be more than the change of pace guy. His efficiency's off the charts. He's going to be 12 to 15 touches, but Jalen Wright could ascend more than any running back that we have here. You know what I mean? Like Blake Corum's going to be the same. If Kyron goes down because of the draft capital, he moves up there. But this is even more of a clear path where it's like, dude, Jalen Wright most likely is going to be the starter next year.
Yeah, for me, it's like anytime you get a guy that fits the exact scheme of an elite offense like that, like he literally screams Mike McDaniels. We all knew it. We all said it was going to happen, just like we did with Achane. Once that happened, it was just like, all right, now you got this bigger back that they don't really have. That's this elite athlete, pretty raw player, but he's super young. The guy just turned, I think he's still 20 years old. Early declare, check some boxes. He was a guy I actually really liked coming out. I thought he had some lack of polishness, and I think his vision lacked sometimes. I think he could have been better, more like he's not really like a guy that can go like change direction that well, even though he showed it in there, but he's not a guy that's gonna like juke like 6 guys out and then score a touchdown like Jahmyr Gibbs. Like he's kind of that north-south, like Raheem Mostert, downhill speedy guy. This is the cheapest you'll ever get a guy that is on the Dolphins, especially. That is that fast and went to a Power 5 school coming out for that cheap. Like a 3rd-round rookie pick. Like Achane was valued high. Reek, Waddle, all these guys are expensive. Like Robbie said, if they both went down and Jalen Wright becomes a starter, before Jalen Wright even plays a snap, his value is going to triple.
100%. The other guy that I thought really solidified his role, he looked fantastic. Braylon Allen, who you and I were not, we've kind of waffled. We were a little bit high at one point. We dropped down.
We were high on him if he played like he did in the preseason game, but he played like a 4'5", 100-pound running back.
Now he played like that beast that he is, 9.0 yards per carry, 54 yards on 6 carries. Every single carry, though, it's not like he had 48 and a bunch of duds. Every single carry was 5 yards or more. He broke 5 tackles on 6 carries, and I think he's gonna end up being one of your better insurance running backs. You know, like I think all these running backs, when you look at Corum, you look at Allen, you look at Ray Davis, these guys are all going to be just premium insurance running backs. And I do not want to even mention the word Breece Hall getting injured. But if he does, Braylon Allen is going to give you an opportunity where you probably bought him for a 3rd and you're going to be able to flip for a 2nd. Does he have long-term upside? I don't think so, because I think he's going to be tied behind Breece Hall, but he still has a value. If I am a guy that's on a rebuilding team and I'm getting a deal done, I'm trying to get Braylon Allen thrown in. So when the time comes, if the time comes, you can flip him, because you're going to be able to flip him for a lot, because the Jets offense, I think, is going to be pretty good with Aaron Rodgers. I think you're going to be an opportunity where you're going to be able to flip Braylon Allen. And the other guy in that same kind of mold, and I'll let you talk about both of them, is Tyrone Tracy's going to start the season out and give you opportunity. 4 missed tackles on 5 carries. If you look in college, he only had 135 touches at Purdue, but 48 missed tackles. He's probably going to be the 3rd down back pass catcher for this team, and he's only behind Devin Singletary. So I think he could be a late round gem, a guy that you took in your, early 3rd, late 2nd, that, let's be honest, the Giants will be in negative game script all the time. he's the running back to own there, and I think he's going to be a guy that ascends in value too because he's going to get opportunity.
Yeah. Let's start with Braylon Allen first. I think we saw more like freshman year Braylon Allen there when he was 17 years old, running with his size, using his power to an advantage. He was a fine player, but he was playing like he was 5'6", 150 pounds playing in high school. Like he would play like his pad level sucked. Everything that he did at Wisconsin, especially his last year. And I know there was a scheme change, which can impact the player a lot. Not used to things, not getting their same rhythm, not moving their body the same way where they'd like. I think the Jets are going to get him downhill under shotgun a lot better. Like they were out of shotgun a lot in Wisconsin. Like that's not Braylon Allen. They got him downhill under center there a lot in New York the past couple times he touched the ball, and we saw him just plowing his way. Like I think someone in the Jets organization was like, listen, if you want to make this team, you're 6'2", 250 pounds. You better play like that, or you're not going to make this team. Like we have Isaiah Davis, we have other backs here that are talented enough to be the backup. You better like really show us your size, your strength, your potential. And I think it just came with NFL trainers, the right weightlifting, right? Like more explosive. Everything he's doing, he's developing still. The kid's like 20 years old still. High-end handcuff for me, honestly. I think if Breece were to go down, just with like the pedigree of what Braylon Allen was, the age, the situation he'd be in, a run-heavy, like Shanahan-style offense, I think he would just be so valued just right then and there. Again, like a Jalen Wright.
Why did the Cowboys not draft him when they're rolling out there with Rico Dowdle and the ghost of Zeke?
Jerry Jones might be like one of the worst general managers and owners ever. Like he is so bad at what he does. Like that team hasn't won shit since like the 90s.
Yeah, he nailed those drafts, and he nailed CeeDee Lamb, but the way they're dealing with contracts and the way that they've drafted this year, the way that they need to turn it over. But what I'm seeing here, Snoog, and I kind of like these trades. I think both Tracy and Braylon Allen, I'm seeing trades on Dynasty Data Lab, James Conner for either of them in a second. If you're rebuilding, that's a smash. If you're trying to move off of a even Mixon, I think you'll be able to get more in season. But the James Conner, the Aaron Jones, the guys in that range, if you can get a second plus one of these guys where it's almost like an insulated trade, right? You're getting a second round pick, which is what James Conner and Aaron Jones and guys like that are worth. And then you get that lottery ticket on top where there's a real scenario where you're going to be able to flip one of these guys for another second. And even if you didn't, you got fair value for James Conner.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I think this is the time, too, where you can start getting all these rookie running backs thrown into deals. Like, I really like to target Tyrone Tracy because, to me, it's an open room. Devin Singletary was bad his whole career. He's been below average. He was decent from time to time last year. He had a couple big games. He's a serviceable guy.
Yeah,
he's not
exactly.
Like if Tyrone Tracy can just show he's the same, or if not better, I think he's going to get somewhat of a good opportunity at least throughout the year. I think he's the better pass catcher. I mean, the guy was a receiver. He was a receiver converted to running back at Purdue. He's old. He's 24 years old already, but like he kind of reminds me like absolute ceiling. Like this is like one of those not gonna happen, but if it did happen, he's like that David Johnson, Tony Pollard style of guy where he's like,
well, yeah, he's a
explosive. Yeah, he's a convert. He's explosive, like good. And Antonio Gibson too is a good comp for him. Another guy that was converted, just like a speedy guy, good breaking tackles and good receiver. Like, is he elite? No, but
he had a nice run. He only had 4 carries. One of them was real nice. He sat back. He was patient. He exploded through the zone. And I think what you were just talking about with the age there is like people say the same thing with Ray Davis, right? And then James Cook struggled in the first preseason game. They're saying he's struggling with some fumble issues. And it's like, they're like, well, don't invest in Ray Davis or Tyrone Tracy because they're 24 years old. Hey, who cares?
Yeah,
These are not guys. I don't want to invest in if when Bijan came out, if he was 24, it would have changed the how much I'm willing to invest in him. But we're not asking to invest much in a Ray Davis or a Tyrone Tracy. Do they have longevity in the NFL? No, absolutely not.
Could have picked them up off the friggin' waivers.
Right, but they're guys that, I think Ray Davis is one of my favorite ones because I think he's going to score more points than a lot of these guys really anticipate. Everyone's on the James Cook hype train. I think Ray Davis I think he's going to score 10 touchdowns as a rookie. He has that type of ceiling. even before an injury. I think just because of what they've done with Latavius Murray and other running backs in the past, just saying this is the guy that we're going to give it to. So I think those running backs, now's the time to buy them. I want to talk about a guy that people are worried about, that you and I were very high on in the running backs. The tape that I saw on Trey Benson, Braylon Allen ran like his 2017, or when he was 17, right? Trey Benson did not look like the same guy that we saw on tape. He looked like he was confused, like he didn't have that, assertiveness. He looked like he wasn't sure when to hit the holes. Now, when he only had a couple of carries, and I looked at the O-line, didn't give him a lot of room. But my worry is that he was running scared. Like he was very similar to what Jonathan Taylor did as a rookie his first couple games in camp, first couple games in the NFL season. He was very slow to hit the hole, overthinking everything. But this is an explosive athlete who I think ultimately will be fine. But that tape was pretty ugly.
He looked like he was lost. Like he looked like he was playing Where's Waldo out there. Like it was honestly insane. I don't know. I mean, we knew the vision lacked there. We knew he was a very raw, like pure talent as a runner and stuff, but we knew how explosive he was. We knew the athleticism was elite. We knew he was a good tackle breaker. But one of my biggest knocks that I had on my notes after watching all of Benson's tape, honestly throughout his entire collegiate career, was what can he do when the play breaks down? And it seems like he's always lost when that happens. Like it's stutter, hesitate. By then you're already getting tackled. We saw that on almost every carry he touched in Arizona. Was it bad run blocking? Probably. Was it bad scheme? Is it a bad scheme fit for him? He's not James Conner. He doesn't get downhill and run through people. He doesn't care for that. He wants to hit the home run every single time. So I don't think Trey Benson's scheme fit there in Arizona is good enough to unlock what he is. I have 0 shares of him. I just think I wasn't into investing into him in that, like where he was going, that 112 to 202 range. I just thought there was better options. Mm-hmm. But I think I don't blame people for chasing that ceiling there, and especially in a good offense. Like this is going to be a good offense long term. I mean, take it for a grain of salt. Like it's one preseason game. Like he could have had a bad game, could have been injured. Who knows? But it's scary that it's looking like exactly what we knew that he was going to struggle with if he wasn't given the right situation, and it seems like it's going to be that way.
I'm going to take the opportunity now to buy because I do see the explosiveness. And now people see that one tape, right? And this was the same thing after, like I said, Jonathan Taylor in 2020, first couple of games, had this same thing, right? Like everybody, he was my RB1. He was my guy I said was the next big thing. And everybody was like, ooh, he looks kind of lost. He looks like he's slow to hit the hole. I'm like, this dude's talent is phenomenal. And I was buying Jonathan Taylor for late firsts in the following year. And then all of a sudden he blew up, right? The final 8 games, he was top 5 and just crushed it. And I'm not saying it's the exact same scenario, but when you see these things, right? We talk about when we knew Rashee Rice was potentially going to get suspended. He's going to be back. Buy him. When you see a running back with the talent of Trey Benson and people are going to start panic selling already, then I'm all over that. You know what I mean? Yep. Like that's a situation where I got to jump in there. Couple other guys that I thought Brian Thomas had that big play catch. I think Brian Thomas and Jermaine Burton, both of them with 2 fantastic catches. I mean, Burton with that touchdown down the sideline, 44 yards on 2 receptions. Brian Thomas Jr. catches that ball. I think both of these guys are phenomenal for best ball in 2024, but I think we got to see where we're at. I mean, I could see a scenario where Brian Thomas Jr. leads the team in yards and touchdowns for Jacksonville. Then I could also see a scenario where he kind of is in that middling range where, he might catch 6 touchdowns, 40 receptions, 600 yards. What are you looking at for Brian Thomas Jr.? Because I go back and forth. I'm like, he has the ceiling, right? Talent-wise, upside, athleticism, to be the wide receiver 4 of this class. And then other times then I look at what Worthy's doing and McConkey and some of these other guys, and I'm like, maybe that's too high. But I've been firmly at that wide receiver 4 spot. I think I'm still there. Talk to me a little bit about Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, I think he was the perfect piece that Trevor Lawrence was missing. And I think he'll fill that Calvin Ridley role much better than Ridley did, because they were trying to use Ridley like he was just field stretcher. Like, no, Calvin Ridley's an elite route runner that separates and gets open and is a monster slot receiver. Mm-hmm. And you're playing him at the X position, running 9 routes every play down there in the red zone. Like, That's not how Calvin Ridley plays. It's just not. I think they misused him.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Brian Thomas is literally exactly what Trevor Lawrence loves.
Mhm.
And we always
And-
talk about this fit data early on in the process, like Brian Thomas to Jacksonville, set it in stone, it's happening. We manifested this for months now because we saw what he did with Justin Ross. We saw what
Yeah.
he did with T. Higgins. We saw what he did with all these guys in college. So
Well, and Calvin Ridley, he targeted at a league high 42% in the red zone. Some of these trades are just baffling to me of like people starting to try to get off of Brian Thomas Jr. Adonai Mitchell and Jacoby Myers, smash. Jonathan Brooks for Brian Thomas Jr. in a 26 first, 25
Wow.
second.
sell
Smash.
Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, like that's people. Man, I keep seeing people talk about Jonathan Brooks as Brees Hall 2.0, and I just
No,
want to
he's-
like
he's
I just
Rashad
want to
White.
throw my computer. Like, no, he's not
He's
that.
Rashad White, Tony
Is-
Pollard.
If he came out last year, he would not be in the top 15 dynasty running backs. The only reason we have him top 12 now is because the landscape has changed so much of guys aging out. I'm
If
trying
he
to sell
came
him-
out yesterday, Dad, last year he probably would have been like RB7 in that class. Or
Yeah, but I'm saying
no, I
it-
would have had him over Charbonnet, definitely. He would have been like
Yeah.
RB5 for me, or 6.
five for sure.
I would have had Kendry and Achain over him 100%.
But Brian Thomas Jr. for a random 26 first. Brian Thomas Jr. for Romeo Dobbs in a second. Like Mark Andrews for Brian Thomas Jr. in a 25 first. Amari Cooper straight up for Brian Thomas Jr. Like kick the tires on Brian Thomas
Yeah.
Jr. Like if you can get anything like this, I mean, I think the talent and the ceiling is right there for him to double in value of where
Yeah.
he is right now. You know, like I think that is really a scenario where that could happen.
I could see him having like a rookie Chase Claypool type of year where he scores like 9,
Oh, he
10
could have 10
touchdowns
touchdowns easily.
and has
You know,
like I think he could be a guy that puts up like 1,000 too. Like he could be like 1,000 on 60 catches type of guy. I'm
I
interested
think
to
we-
see how he works out because the targets aren't going to be as available because there's so many
Yeah.
mouths to feed. But like,
if and I'm not saying I think Kirk and Ingram are going to play in close. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But if one of those guys goes down, he's going to see a lot more play. He's going to be on the outside. He's that stretcher. I think people are really trying to give Gabe Davis too much credit. I think they went out and signed Gabe Davis, and then it was like, okay, well let's see what we can do here. But I am
Gabe Davis
personally in-
wasn't good in Buffalo as the second option. He's never going to be good. Like,
That's everybody's like, oh, this is his new shot, and I'm like, if he
he's
were
going to
good
play
with
the
Josh
same
Allen-
role, but he's not going to
Yeah.
be good. And Josh Allen literally elevated him. He's a good role player though.
Yeah, for sure. I've got to trade in here real quick. So, like I said, we try to answer these. Smooth Criminal Entertainment wants to know DJ Moore and Bowers or Kyle Pitts. Oh, that's a smash. I thought I was looking for the second part there. Dude, Kyle Pitts. No, just kidding. It's DJ Moore and Brock Bowers. When you got guys that are in that same tier, like what I have Bowers slightly above Pitts, you got to take the extra asset in there. I'm looking at some of the other wide receivers. Malik Neighbors goes down to the ankle sprain. This could create a window. I went out there in all 20 leagues and we're like, let's just throw a trade out there. Now this is going to affect the chemistry a little bit, but man, he has shown that he is that dog. You know, there's reports out there saying that the Cardinals think that they made a mistake. I mean, I don't believe that kind of coach speak. Can we not just sit here and realize that, you know, we had Julio and AJ Green and we had Evans and Odell Beckham, and no one's like someone made a mistake one way or the other. This is that next time where it's like, these are two dogs that for the next 10 years are just going to dominate. You're on mute.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, I touched my mic. Yeah, I know. I definitely agree there. I mean, this wide receiver class, Dad, is so special in my opinion. Like, I think you think it's the best, could be the best of all time. Like, if all goes right. I don't know if it beats 2014 or 2020, but it could be
Yeah.
up there.
It's going to be one of those ones up there. Let's look at some trades with Malik Neighbors because we did a whole show on that. If you guys didn't
He's
check it
so
out on
good,
YouTube,
dude. He is
you
so
have to.
good.
But I've rarely seen one where I'm like, that's an overpay. Malik Neighbors for Nico Collins. That's a smash. You're taking Malik Neighbors. Jalen Waddle, Tajay Spears, and a 27-second or Malik Neighbors.
Neighbors.
I feel like this one's pretty fair, but I'm taking Neighbors, right?
I think Neighbors is one of the only guys, other than like maybe Drake London, Chris Olave. I don't even think Chris Olave and Drake London can get there, but I think Neighbors is the only guy valued outside the top 5 with
Mhm.
Garrett Wilson that could be valued in the top 5 at some point within the next like 3 to 4 years.
We got Malik Neighbors and 225 first for Jamar Chase. I'm taking it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm taking that shot now. Rashi Rice in a first or Malik Neighbors. Unless that's a 101 or 102, I'm taking Neighbors. You know, like the upside. Here's an interesting one.
Superstar.
Devon Achane and Xavier Worthy. I'm still taking Neighbors because there is a chance that Devon Achane could be a league winner, or he could just be that guy that gets injured notoriously.
Yeah.
Tough. Devonta Smith, Xavier Worthy in a second, or Malik Neighbors.
Smith. I like Smith there.
Yeah. Smith is gonna smash this year.
He's gonna thrive this year in the slot.
I think so too. What do we have here? That's for Trey Benson. We're not doing that. T. Higgins and Jonathan Brooks for Malik Neighbors. That's a smash.
Neighbors,
I think this is a player where you're just talking about a ceiling unlike, and outside of maybe 5 or 6 guys, like that's where we're at. Bijan Robinson or Malik Neighbors in the 25 first.
Bijan.
That's
close, though.
What does it have to be? Like, if it's random, it's Bijan. If it's mid, it's fair.
Mid to early,
if it's early,
fair. It's fair.
If it's early, I think
it's Neighbors. Probably.
Because like, think about it. You're gonna take Malik Neighbors and Ollie Gordon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then or Quinshon Judkins. Like that's what we're talking about there, depending on your scenario. Then I see some that I'm just baffled, like why somebody would give that up. Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, and a pair of seconds for Malik Neighbors. Like, don't undersell this guy. Like, this guy is going to be absolutely phenomenal. I wanted to talk Camp Buzz. I wanted to talk some of these guys. You know, we had to cover where we're at. I think now is the time where some rookies you're going to want to cash out on the hype. Other rookies you're going to want to invest if they have the dip. Take this preseason and take everything that we've been talking about at Smash Accept since February, right? Like the day the Super Bowl ended, we've been talking rookies. We told you what the 25 firsts are going to be worth. We told you what the 24 class was going to be. Now you can try to make some decisions to make some moves. You knew these guys were going to be this or that. You know, like you're going to see Rome Odunze might be struggling for targets week 1 and 2. Make a deal. Go out there and get him. You know, you're going to see guys like Jordan Whittington, who we've been saying to go out there and pick up, pop off in the preseason. I sold 1 share for a second yesterday. Let's be honest, like it's not gonna get to that. Like,
just remember what happened with Jahmyr Gibbs last year. Jahmyr Gibbs didn't score over 8 points in like the first 5 weeks, and then was an RB1 the rest of the way, top 5 to 10. Like rookies take a little bit of time, especially on those elite crowded offenses. So just stay true to the process, trust the prospect, and just buy into it.
Absolutely. So guys, if you guys have any questions when it comes to rookies, when it comes to the evaluation, comes to trades, hit us up. I'm at Dynasty Dad FF. He's at FF Snoop. Thanks again for tuning in and enjoy the process.
Boom.